The moment Marcus Hale pushed open the creaking door of his small house on the quiet outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, he froze so suddenly that the grocery bag slipped from his hands and rolled across the floor. For a long moment he simply stood there, unable to believe what he was seeing. Inside his humble living room, kneeling beside the worn-out couch with a bucket of soapy water and a rag in her hands, was the last person on earth he ever expected to see there. It was Victoria Whitmore, the powerful billionaire CEO of the company where he worked the night shift as a janitor. Her expensive suit jacket was folded neatly on a chair, her sleeves were rolled up, and she was quietly scrubbing the floor as if she had been doing it her whole life. The most powerful woman in his company was cleaning his tiny house. Before we continue, if you believe stories about kindness and second chances matter in this world, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive. Marcus blinked several times, wondering if exhaustion had finally caught up with him. His life had been a relentless storm ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, leaving him alone to raise their 6-year-old daughter, Chloe. Days were spent juggling 2 jobs, nights were spent worrying about bills, and mornings were spent pretending to be strong for the little girl who believed her father could fix anything. The small house they lived in had slowly fallen into quiet disarray because there simply weren't enough hours in Marcus's day to keep everything together. Toys sat in corners, laundry piled up in baskets, and the kitchen sink rarely stayed empty for long. But none of that explained why a billionaire CEO was kneeling on his living room floor with a sponge in her hand. Marcus worked for Whitmore Industries, a massive company whose towering glass headquarters dominated the skyline of downtown Columbus. Most employees had never even seen Victoria Whitmore in person. She was known as a brilliant but distant leader, a woman whose decisions moved markets and whose schedule was guarded like a state secret. Marcus had seen her only once before during a late shift, when she walked through the building quietly with a group of executives. Their eyes never met. To her, he had likely been invisible. Yet now she was in his house. His heart pounded with confusion and embarrassment as he stepped inside, suddenly noticing the worn carpet, the peeling paint on the walls, and the clutter that had slowly accumulated from years of survival mode. Victoria stood up when she noticed him, her expression calm but her eyes heavy with emotion. The silence between them felt thick and unreal. Marcus felt the weight of 1,000 questions pressing against his chest. He had spent years trying to stay unnoticed at work, quietly doing his job so he could keep providing for Chloe. The idea that the CEO even knew his name seemed impossible, let alone that she would be standing in his home cleaning his living room. But the truth behind that moment stretched back weeks. Victoria Whitmore had built her empire through discipline, ambition, and relentless focus. For most of her life, success had been measured by profit reports, mergers, and growth charts. But something had begun to shift inside her recently. One evening she had stayed late at the office reviewing documents when she noticed Marcus in the hallway helping his daughter with her homework on a bench near the janitor's closet. Chloe had been quietly practicing spelling words while Marcus, still in his work uniform, patiently explained each one despite the exhaustion in his eyes. Victoria had paused around the corner, unseen. Something about the scene struck her deeply. The world saw Marcus as a janitor pushing a cleaning cart through empty offices. But in that moment she saw a father fighting quietly to give his daughter a future. Curiosity turned into concern when she later reviewed employee files and learned more about him. She discovered the tragedy of his wife's passing, the double shifts he worked, and the fact that he had never once asked the company for special treatment. He simply kept working. For reasons she couldn't fully explain, the story stayed with her. So she did something no billionaire CEO had likely done before. She visited Marcus's neighborhood quietly, without assistance, cameras, or publicity. When she saw the condition of the small house and imagined the daily struggle inside it, something inside her heart shifted in a way that boardrooms and business deals never could. Marcus listened silently as Victoria finally explained the truth behind her presence. She told him that she had come not out of charity, but out of respect. She had seen something rare in him, quiet resilience, love without complaint, and the kind of strength that didn't appear in financial statements. Cleaning the house was never about the mess. It was about showing him that someone had noticed his fight. Marcus felt his throat tighten as the realization settled in. For years he had believed that his efforts existed in silence, that the sacrifices he made for Chloe were invisible to the world. But standing in front of him was proof that someone had seen everything. Victoria explained that she had spent her life building a company but had recently begun questioning what success really meant. Watching Marcus had reminded her that true strength often lived in the quiet corners of the world, far away from boardrooms and headlines. That afternoon, the billionaire CEO made a decision that would change both of their lives. Marcus was offered a new role within the company's facilities management team, a position with better hours, higher pay, and stability that would finally allow him to spend real evenings with his daughter instead of running between jobs. Victoria insisted it wasn't charity. She believed that people who showed loyalty and dedication deserved opportunity. But the moment that broke Marcus wasn't the job offer. It was when Victoria quietly walked into Chloe's small bedroom and finished organizing the toys scattered across the floor. She paused for a moment, looking at the photos on the dresser, pictures of Marcus and Chloe smiling despite everything life had thrown at them. Marcus realized that someone powerful had finally seen the beauty hidden inside his struggle. And it shattered the loneliness he had carried for years. Before we reach the end of this story, take a moment and comment the word kindness if you believe even the smallest act of compassion can change someone's life. Over the following months, Marcus's life slowly transformed. The new job gave him stability he had never known. Even more meaningful was the friendship that quietly developed between him and Victoria. She began visiting the community programs Marcus helped with on weekends, discovering a world far richer than any corporate achievement. Marcus often thought back to that moment when he first opened his door and saw the most powerful woman in his company kneeling on his floor with a sponge in her hand. It reminded him that sometimes the greatest miracles don't arrive with noise or attention. Sometimes they arrive quietly, carrying a bucket of soapy water and a heart that has finally learned what truly matters. And if this story touched your heart in any way, please like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists in this world, subscribe for more stories like this, and let us know in the comments what part moved you the most. Because sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness can rebuild a life.